What I saw, Roya saw the people get pepper sprayed in the front, but there was also a side door, and as law enforcement opened the side door and people started to head over there, they pepper sprayed two of the guys that were there, and they were holding up the signs to try and protect themselves, but they still got pepper sprayed in the eyes. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, one of the things that we have also seen over the course of these immigration sweeps is people looking through that gate where you can see vehicles at times where they've been able to see people who are being detained, who have been handcuffed after they've been taken by immigration authorities. So certainly a gathering point. And also close by is this basement where a lot of people have been held in conditions that human and immigrants' rights groups have denounced as inhumane, you know, without access to food for long hours or being held there for extended periods of time. Yes, there's definitely a reason why people are gathered here. We're just starting to get information as far as what exactly happened. It's possible Air 7 got a better picture, but right now I would say it is loud, but we don't see any active confrontation happening right now.
It's good news, Annabelle, from where you are. I do have one question for you with regard to the officers that we're seeing, and maybe you are unclear on this answer, but do we know what agency that is? Is that LAPD? Is that federal ICE agents? Who are we seeing that is in direct confrontation there with the protesters?
I couldn't answer that question right now. We cannot see. We'll definitely get a little bit closer, but it's unclear to me. It sounded like from what people are describing that it is likely federal agents, but I am not entirely sure. This is a federal building, so very likely federal agents.
Well, they have their own security that's in addition to or apart from the agents who are conducting the raids on people on the streets. So that is something to be determined. Do you have a sense, Annabelle, given the number of people who are out there, what proportion of them, what segment of them, about how many roughly, would you say are doing the stuff here, throwing things and confronting the officers?
You know, we haven't seen any of that, I'll be honest, because we just got here, so we don't know exactly what led up to this. In terms of the size of the crowd, a few hundred people here. We know that the crowd was likely in the thousands earlier, and they've just been marching from downtown to East LA, now gathering here. So as we kind of speak to more people here and get a little bit closer, hopefully get a better sense of what happened, and I'm sure we'll start seeing some of those videos on social media. We know a lot of people who are here are documenting what's happening and are here waving flags as they demonstrate against the federal government.
Annabelle, any type of dispersal order or anything that you've heard over any loudspeakers at this point?
No, not yet. Really what we're hearing the most is the crowd that is chanting and protesting and the music that is blasting from the cars, but nothing that I've heard on a megaphone or speaker from law enforcement at this point.
And real quick, we have more questions for you, but I want to first of all issue a warning and an apology to our viewers. You're going to see some words on signs, on T-shirts, for example, that are not permitted. We are trying our best to not show that sort of stuff on television, but as you can see, it's a very active scene. We're doing our best to keep that down, so maybe keep the kids out of the room if you are so inclined. Annabelle, have you seen any presence of the Los Angeles Police Department? It is within the downtown area. It's within their jurisdiction. Have they been called or summoned? Have you seen any evidence of LAPD being called to disperse the crowd?
I have seen LAPD, but not right outside of this building as we were walking over, which is typical during these large demonstrations. We're going to walk back a little bit so you can hear me better. They were stationed at the freeway entrances, which is something that we typically see during these demonstrations when we know that folks do take the freeways here in downtown Los Angeles. But I haven't seen any LAPD officers or vehicles. At least from my vantage point, it is difficult to see over the crowd and really get a 360 view of it here.
Annabelle, you've been covering this all day for us and doing a phenomenal job there on the ground. At what point, if any, would you say there was kind of a shift in tone with this crowd to where we are right now?
You know, it's hard to tell. The crowd really ebbs and flows throughout the day, but I think it is natural for things to kind of shift later in the evening and for tensions to escalate depending on the gathering place at times, right? It started in downtown, right in front of City Hall, and then they were marching through downtown and to East LA. But certainly because of what this building represents for so many people here. We just heard folks scream just now. I'm not sure if something happened. You know, I think it really depends on a lot of variables, and we can see something being tossed in the air. I can't tell what direction. It looks like it's coming from the crowd toward the building or toward this gate right here where the parking lot is. But Michelle, to answer your question, you know, sometimes it changes with the time of day, with the location, and with maybe a few people who are in confrontation that really shift the tone of what's happening.
Certainly. Well, stay safe out there, Annabelle. Anything else that you want to share from your vantage point as you're seeing right now? And what we're seeing is it appears that there is an officer or agent of some sort on the roof there. Now it looks like several firing into the crowd. I don't know if that's less lethal rounds or some type of tear gas. So I believe that as they're, you know, shooting into the crowd, that's when the crowd kind of gets loud and starts screaming back.
We see that. We see that officer standing up there, kind of pointing in all directions as a lot of different items are being tossed up in his direction or their direction as well.
It appears to be that it might be pepper balls. It's kind of similar to paintballs, except they're filled with an agent. They're filled with a chemical or something inside that stings the nostrils and tries to get people to would encourage people to get out of the way. And he is firing. It looks like, or pointing that weapon at people. It's less than lethal ammunition, if you want to call it there. We have Bruce Thomas with us. He's our law enforcement expert right now. Bruce, are you with us? Hello, Bruce.
Hi, Mark. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're seeing this along with us. What is your sense of whether or when one of our, or I guess it would be, I said one of our local agencies, it would be the Los Angeles Police Department that would be called in to perhaps either declare an unlawful assembly and or disperse this crowd?
Yeah, what you have a federal building, which is federal property. So what you're seeing, the officers in the black uniforms, the one that was just on the roof, they're federal protective police. They have to invite and request LAPD or the sheriffs or anybody to come on their property and disperse the crowd.
Okay, so if there's no response from the LAPD, it could be because they haven't been asked or called upon to do that, and they have no jurisdiction actually on that property.
Correct. It's all protocol. I used to deal a lot with the federal building in Westwood, and you have to be invited. And then once you're invited to participate, then you fall under the federal guidelines. You still maintain your own rank and file, but you're just invited as part of the team.
That answers in terms of that actual property for the federal building, Bruce. But with regard to the surrounding areas in downtown Los Angeles, should we expect soon that LAPD might try to move into some of those other areas and kind of de-escalate things there by issuing a dispersal order?
Sure, Michelle. One of the things that LAPD, sheriffs, and CHP, we want. Yes, sir. I will. Yes, sir. Sorry about that. One of the things that I was saying is everybody wants them to exercise their First Amendment rights, free speech, the right to protest, the right to disagree with everything. However, when it becomes unsafe for the general public, meaning we've taken over streets, we are now getting on the freeway, at that point, then the law enforcement agencies will come into play and have to disperse the crowd.
Well, it appears that that may be imminent because we're just hearing in our ears that the LAPD has declared a citywide tactical alert, which means all officers stay on duty. No one goes home, even if their shift is over, in preparation for perhaps a deployment of a lot of people into this area to disperse the crowd downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Mark and Michelle, one of the things with LAPD declaring that, it now takes a little bit of time to muster and get the resources from around the city of Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley units, the South Central units, the West Side units, all have to then respond, get their tactical gear, and then respond to this location.
Bruce, we have known for a few days that this, ice out protest was going to happen here in our community and across the country. Is that something that goes into play as staffing is being sorted out for today with regard to law enforcement?
I'm sure the agency, in this case, LAPD, has been talking about it. Their command staff has been briefing the chief on this. The agency areas affected, in this case, LAPD Central, is all ready to go on this, in addition to LA Sheriff's Metro, which does have resources and assets in that area.
All right, Bruce Thomas, thank you very much. We will check back with you as our coverage continues. As we look at Air 7's picture over downtown LA, it's worth noting that we're seeing people on the freeway overpasses there, no incursions onto the freeway that we know of, although that has been a tactic that has been employed obviously many times at various demonstrations, anti-ICE or otherwise, over the years. But what it appears is happening in terms of this being the focal point or flashpoint at this point is that there is a group of people who have chosen to launch objects or hurl them at the Metropolitan Detention Facility and the security officers who are guarding it. And the vast majority of the other people are watching them do it and not taking part in that. So we'll have to see whether the people who are actually committing these acts are the ones who are going to be singled out. Now we're seeing a dumpster. They're picking up and trying to move this dumpster there. They're going to try to ram this thing through the gate. I don't know what's going to happen here. Let's zoom in, if we can, with Air 7 as best we can, and to see what they're doing. You saw that dumpster. It was much further away a few minutes ago, Michelle, and now they're moving it up. Yeah,
that is a sight that I've never seen anything like that, but that's certainly alarming. But there's so many people there that, yeah, they have the strength probably, as we see some people kind of on the side of that dumpster there. They have the strength to move that dumpster, and I would imagine if you're on the other side as one of these Federal Protective Police there, that's not something that you want to see with a large, dumpster kind of feet away at this point from where you're standing trying to protect this building. So that's not a great sign to see. And we see people too also tagging kind of the side of the building. We know some choice words have been written on the side of the building there that we're trying to avoid with our camera angle. But yeah, this is just, as Annabelle mentioned, sometimes with the sun setting, things tend to ramp up in terms of tensions.
All right, and you see people fanning away the tear gas with their signs. We're going to keep an eye on this. We'll go back to it as events warrant, but in the meantime, there is much more to cover on this day, this Ice Out day.
Yeah, busy news day. We're following more breaking news too. Journalist Don Lemon speaking out following his release after appearing in Los Angeles federal court this afternoon. Lemon charged with civil rights crimes in connection with an ICE program.
Okay, okay, 10-4. I'm gonna do a wide shot. There's too much profanity. Yeah, there's no way to crop any of this stuff out.
facility that's operated by the federal government. That is where a lot of immigrants who are detained by ICE end up before being dispersed to other locations, people demonstrating there and causing some property damage, some of them. Now we're seeing the LAPD that is responding now in what we assume will be an effort to disperse that crowd.
Yes. We were mentioned earlier, we spoke earlier with Bruce Thomas, who is a security expert and law enforcement expert, and he mentioned that in order for the LAPD to move in, this does have to be initiated by the Federal Protective Police, who are the ones that are face-to-face with protesters there guarding the federal building. So after that citywide tactical alert was issued about 15, 20 minutes ago at this point, we now see those patrol cars moving in, and we will see shortly what happens with regard to getting this crowd cleared from this detention center building. The
video on the right is from earlier, right around 5 o'clock, when there were people actively engaged in throwing things at the security police there at the Metropolitan Detention Facility, throwing a lot of things at them, and at one point pepper balls and tear gas being deployed against them. This is a portion of the crowd of several hundred people that were there, according to our Annabelle Munoz, who had elected to engage with those officers and spray graffiti on the building. The picture there now, we're going to check in and see how it looks right at this moment. You've got a lot of folks gathered outside, milling around, carrying signs and flags. Let's look to the left here a little bit, because there was the dumpster. They did actually bring it up and push it up against the building.
It just appears too that that group was kind of more concentrated, and now we are seeing, it appears, people kind of moving to the right and left, kind of aimlessly going somewhere, I don't know, but as they make their way, they will encounter these police cruisers shortly. We see a group of people here leaving because, again, well, here goes the LAPD cruisers here as these officers get out of their vehicle and are encountering this group that is moving from the Federal Detention Center.
All right, and so you see them, the vehicles are lined up. Pretty soon the officers that were in those vehicles are going to line up, form a skirmish line, and start to move people out. Before they do that, they have to declare an unlawful assembly. That has to be done on site. Someone with command authority will do that, probably a lieutenant or above, will get on a loudspeaker or use the loudspeaker in their vehicle and say, this is an unlawful assembly, you must leave the area immediately. We've seen this scores of times over the years in demonstrations that have happened, both peaceful and otherwise, in Los Angeles. And that is the technique that is used. First, they have to say this is an unlawful assembly, give people a chance to leave. If you stay in the area, once it's been declared an unlawful assembly, then you are subject to arrest. That's almost word for word what they say. And so you're seeing people now that are starting to disperse. This crowd is a lot smaller, right, Michelle?
It is a lot smaller, and it seems that I'm not seeing anybody, just at first glance, that is actively throwing anything or, you know, picking up anything and engaging directly with those protective officers at the federal building. Maybe people just standing around waving their flags, but it doesn't look like there's anybody actively engaging in any type of, you know, unlawful behavior with regard to getting in the officers' faces.
Again, this is the location where immigrants, once they've been taken off the streets or wherever they are taken from, apprehended by ICE agents and Border Patrol, this is where they are brought, and they are taken to, there's a basement underneath the building, and many people who have either been in the basement or toured it have said, or who've experienced it, have said that it's a very inhumane set of circumstances that people find themselves in there, people being denied access to food or water for long periods of time, sanitation, that there's shortages of bedding and the like. It's a very rudimentary sort of a place, almost a warehouse where people are kept before they're shipped out to other areas or perhaps bailed out and returned to their homes or to their families here. So what we're seeing now is the LAPD starting to form those lines. We're going to keep an eye on the situation here. It appears to be less volatile than it was, but these sorts of situations can be fluid. If we need to come back, we certainly will. We're going to keep an eye on it and keep you apprised of what is happening at the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles.
We're going to move on now to another story that we're following on this Friday for you.
You guys, this is a church campus. You're not welcome on this campus.
Yeah, we're at the federal building. We're just orbiting to conserve fuel. So yeah, we're still at the Fed building. Oh, you want to zoom in on it? Okay, cool. It's getting dark, so hopefully all those. Okay. Yeah. Just stop here. Okay. Okay. Yep. Yeah, the detention building is just loaded with F-bombs. There we go. Ten for 1 minute.
an eye on this and report back to you as events warrant. When there's a change, we will certainly get to it. In the meantime, February 1st is on Sunday, and we're wrapping up January with a sizzle. It's about to get pretty warm across Southern California. Chief
Meteorologist Dallas Range tracking all those details.
Okay, 10-4, thank you. This is, let me see. This is Aliso and Alameda. Aliso and Alameda, right on the corner of the Federal Building. All right, 10-4. Okay, sounds good. Okay. Yeah, the fast orbits look good. We can, yeah. Just do like a fast orbits, then just stay vertical on top of the buildings when you kind of come around the building side. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, those cops are going to push all those people south all the way down, and then they'll start going home probably. Yeah, that's Alameda right there with all the officers. That's the Alameda north and south, and then Aliso is east and west. 10-4.
This afternoon. This right now is a live look of downtown LA from Air 7, and you can see the LAPD there. They are on tactical alert right now. That means no LAPD officers can go home at the moment. Police say people are launching debris, bottles and other objects at federal officers at that federal building, and that's part of the clashes that we saw earlier. They have deployed pepper balls and tear gas.
This all breaking about 90 minutes ago. So that is the video from 90 minutes ago when things started to turn violent. You can see people throwing things at federal officers. This is at the Federal Detention Center, which is near that intersection that you're looking at in the live picture. Thousands of people, they marched in the streets earlier today. The things were peaceful, but then they turned violent on that scene on the right-hand side. And as a result, a tactical alert was called by the LAPD. Keep in mind, those are federal officers they're throwing things at on the right-hand side. So when the LAPD showed up at this intersection of Alameda and Aliso, the crowd's attention was then turned to the LAPD, who have now established a skirmish line right there on Alameda. That is the bridge that's going over the 101 right now, and that has garnered the crowd's attention. So there is a standoff going right now, and Aliso, the street that is going up and down, north and south, that is at a complete standstill due to traffic. And let's check in now with Eyewitness News reporter Tim Pulliam. He is live on the ground in downtown where this skirmish is taking place. Tim.
That's right, David, Giovanna. Yeah, I'm right here by the skirmish line, as you can see over my shoulder. I have a mask on because it is a bit smoky in the air, a little bit of an irritant. And you can see right now as LAPD moves in on this crowd, telling them to disperse. They have been out here all day and all evening, and as you can see, this crowd is refusing to disperse. They are in a contentious conflict right now with LAPD as LAPD tries to control this situation. They determined around 5:41 p.m. that this was an unlawful assembly, and it's because of those images that you saw. I see a police officer pushing one of the demonstrators right now, but the images that you saw from Air 7 of protesters throwing things at the federal building, at security officers by the federal building, this got chaotic and contentious at times. There's even graffiti on the wall that we just cannot show you because it is explicit. This is a very dramatic situation right now. They have been out here for hours, as I've said. Hundreds of people demanding to end ICE in our community. They want them out of here. When we arrived here earlier today, we met an attorney that was protesting. His name is Josh Ogle from Mid-City, and he said that he was pepper sprayed while activating and assuming his First Amendment right to protest against ICE. Listen to this.
It feels like they're trying to put a boot on my neck, and I'm not going to let it hurt. I mean, it stinks, but you got to do the hard work of democracy, and that's what this is.
Tell me what led up to you being pepper sprayed.
They were trying to get a van out, and we were on the sidewalk. They had gotten the van out, and they were going back inside. We were closing up the gap on the sidewalk, and an officer looked me dead in my eyes and sprayed me, close as I am to you right now.
All right, so you are taking a live look at Alameda Street. This is here right outside of the federal building, and you can see this police skirmish line pushing these protesters back, asking them to disperse. Again, this dispersal order came out about 22 minutes ago after things got chaotic. You can see several signs, you can see the flags. These protesters are determined to let their voices be heard, even though right now this is an unlawful assembly. I'm going to leave you with this image. It's unclear how long this is going to last, but we will be here to cover this development. David, Giovanna.
All right, Tim, thank you for that view and that report from the ground. And here's now another live look from downtown LA from Air 7. The LAPD, as we mentioned, on tactical alert. You see the patrol cars there. You saw the skirmish line a minute ago. We will continue to monitor these protests throughout the night here on ABC 7.
All right, quickly, let's take you back to that protest going on live downtown LA from Air 7. That building at the top of your screen, that is the federal detention center. That's where the violence started, with the crowd throwing items at federal officers. Then a tactical alert was called. The LAPD showed up, and now they've started this skirmish line. And as you'll notice, they are slowly pushing the crowd back along Alameda Avenue, and you see the crowd now is being pushed from that bridge over the 101. There you see the 101 at the top of your screen, and they're pushing them back. However, the crowd's energy remains high. You can see all the people pushed up against the LAPD. And keep in mind, their anger was first towards federal officers, but now they are head-to-head against the LAPD because of this tactical alert, who are trying to control the crowd. We'll continue to watch the situation. We'll bring you updates, and we'll be right back.
How much on station? Oh, okay. 20 minutes to bingo. I thought 20 minutes until the engine quits. Okay, till 20 minutes on station? Okay, okay. Uh, 2-0. We got about 20 minutes. Yep, we're trying to. Okay, sounds good. We're trying to stretch it, which is why we're orbiting. We save a little bit more fuel when we orbit. So if you want us to stop for any reason, just let us know. We're trying to stretch it for the whole show. The show ends at 6:30, right? Okay, cool. 10-4. . 10-4, 30 out, 30 out. Yeah, we got like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. We're trying to stretch it, Jay. Come left for buildings. Yeah, I gotta come left, hard left. It's all good. It looks like they're firing their weapons. They are on Alameda, and now they're almost at Temple Street. Yeah, let's stay on this side. Temple. Let me check. Okay, it's coming up on 1st Street now. Yeah, 1st and Alameda. Just a tow truck. That guy better get out of there. The guy's climbing on his truck. Come on. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, sounds good. I think at 6:20, at 6:30, we're gonna go back and get fuel. Temp 4, less than a minute. Yeah, not many people left, huh? Less than 30, less than 30. Ten forward, 10 seconds. All right, let's go back and get fuel. Yeah, these guys are making pretty quick work, huh? Normally it takes all night to push. 10-4, thanks, Jay. Yeah, they split the group in half. Look at that. Man, this traffic on the 110 looks so crazy.